Good morning, virtual villagers. Hi, I'm Kate from What Kate Made, and today I'm going to show you how to make over some plant pots. So if you've got plastic plant pots lying about in your greenhouse or your garden shed, I'm going to show you how you can make them over in three simple ways to create a cover for your plant pot, so you can pop another plant inside it, something that makes it look really decorative. So two of the ones I'm going to show you this morning using fabric. The methods I'm going to show you can be sewn if you have a sewing machine or if you don't mind stitching by hand, but they don't have to be. I'm going to show you a no-sew method with both of them, one of them using glue instead of sewing it. And the third one is using sticky back plastic, the old Glue Peter favourite. So I think we'll start with the simplest one. Now this here is my little tete-a-tete daffodil. At this time of year, I love these little pots of bulbs, and I like them in the house. I have them in the house till they stop flowering, then I stick them in the garden. Usually I get these because I love the little flowers, but this year I thought I might try and find some snowdrops or some crocuses as well. I should really plant my own. I never do. Now, I'm just going to try and bring you up live. If you just give me a minute so I can see all your comments. I'll give that a minute to readjust itself. Right, so I'm going to show you the three things I'm going to do today. So the first one is a very simple fabric covered pot tied with a nice ribbon. This one I haven't glued it on. I will glue it on with the others because sorry, there we go, I've got you up like that. It'll make it a little bit more secure, but I left this one unglued because I wanted to take it apart and show you how to remake it. So just a word about the pots. Most of the ones I'm using today are just a plain plastic plant pot like this. When you come to use the sticky back plastic on one, it is a bit difficult with the rim. I'll show you the one I did. This is it. So I've had to do the rim separately just because it's difficult to go over the rim all with one piece. So I've actually used two pieces on that. So if you've got them without rims, I think after scurrying about in the greenhouse, I found one like this that doesn't have a very distinct rim. So I'm going to make it with that one, just so it's a bit easier to show you. So one thing you do need to do is, if you're going to use this as a plant pot cover, rather than actually planting a plant in it, you need to seal up the holes at the bottom because you don't want it leaking all over the place. Now, the easiest way to do this is to cut a circle of plastic that will fit secure snugly in the bottom of your pot and glue it in. The other alternative is if you've got a plant saucer. Now, my plants, this particular size of pot, I'm not sure what size it is. I used to know all the sizes of plant pots. This is a 12 centimetre one, so that'll be diameter, I would think. This size of plant saucer neatly fits in the bottom. Can you see that? And that covers all the holes. That's brilliant. You can glue it in place if you want it to be more secure. If you don't have a plant saucer, just cut a piece of plastic. Now, this plastic, it's see-through. I've recycled this from a cake box. You know, you get a cake box that's got an aperture in it and a bit of plastic. Well, I take all the plastic out because I'm recycling the cardboard, and I keep the plastic because it's handy for little crafty things. Waste not, want not. Right, so that's the word about sealing up your pots so that they're waterproof. Now, I'm going to show you the other two. So I showed you this very simple one that's tied, and I've shown you the sticky back plastic one. So this is the other one. My sample's not very good because when I made it last night in a hurry, I put the seams on the outside. I won't do that when I make it up this time. This one has been glued. It hasn't been sewn. What you're basically doing is making a flat-bottomed sort of round little bag, turning the top over. The fabric I've used is a fat quarter. If you're familiar with quilting, you'll know what fat quarters, you can a ready cut piece of fabric you buy. Quite often you buy them in bundles with all complementary colours, so that they're ideal for something like this where you want two colours or two fabrics that complement each other. And I used half a fat quarter to cover my 7 centimetre pot. So that's how much fabric you need. So we'll get started. I'm talking a lot and not getting started. So I'm going to start with a simple one. Now, as I say, I didn't tie this tight. I didn't glue it on because I wanted to be able to show you how to remake it up together. So I'm just going to quickly undo the ribbon, take the fabric off the pot. Now, I've already got my plant saucer in the bottom. I'm just going to turn my glue gun on, make sure it's charged up. So the fabric, a piece of fabric for my size of pot I've got here, it's not quite a square, but these were pieces of fabric, again, they came ready cut. And it's been cut with a zigzag edge. Can you see that? That does help stop fraying. It doesn't have to, it probably would be better square, but simply because it's, you know, it's a little awkward shape, this. But one of the advantages of having it not quite the right is that you get nice little folds and tucks on it. So basically what you're going to do is place your pot in the middle of your fabric. Just let me find my little clips. Instead of pins, I started using these. They're like a little crocodile clip, but they're quilting clips, and they're really handy for holding things together without having to fiddle with pins. So what I'm doing is, if you can see, let's put it a bit more towards me, I'm pulling the fabric up at the corners and clipping it in place so that we've got our pot sitting nicely in the middle of our fabric. Then all you do then is pleat and fold it round, so that you're getting your pot completely covered. It doesn't matter about the edges showing. So just make sure that you can go all the way around your pot and cover it all, which we can. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to glue it. Being careful not to move your pot and your fabric. Just unfold it and put a spot of glue. Sorry, I'm doing that on the wrong side for you. Then bring your fabric back up again and just press it into the spot of glue. I'll do this side so you can see. Are you? Yeah, let's get that in position. I'm trying to keep the camera upright today because I've got a lot of stuff spread about. So I'll show you that again. Big blob of glue on the side of your pot. Draw your corner up to where it was before and just press it onto the glue carefully. Don't burn your fingers. Tuck the end in the top. Do the same with the other corners. Glue and pull the corner up and press on the glue. And the final one. Actually, that's in the wrong place. If I took all the ends in again, I'll probably be able to see a little bit better. I want to make sure I'm still covering all of my pot. So yeah, that'll be all right. That will cover it. Be careful with your hot glue. Just because you're using a plastic pot, it shouldn't be hot enough to melt the pot, but you just need to be careful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our pleats that we made earlier, and we're just going to carefully glue them in place. Glue onto the pleat and then glue it in place, and then do that all the way around. You can tuck your the spare bits into your pot. I want to do this bit first because this is where I've kind of slightly gone adrift. So I'm going to just try and put this, glue this so that my pot is fully covered. So I'll do that bit there and cover it there as well. Just say a few good mornings. Good morning to Irene and good morning to Sally. So this one I'm going to just fold up the bottom there, a bit like when you're doing a parcel. I'm going to use that sort of box pleat again later. So just enough glue to make sure it's stuck. Right, so where did I get to? Put some more glue on that plate there. So if there's no hard and fast rule here, we're just playing it by ear. I'm going to just fold this bit round and glue it there. I need a new stick. I've lost my place now where I was going. I'm trying to make all my pleats go the same way around. So I'll pleat it there. This is quite a thin cotton, so the glue does come through all the layers, which is quite handy. Now, that's more or less how I want it. Now, take your length of ribbon. This is slightly long for this one, but what you want to do is tie it round your pot, just under the rim that we talked about earlier. We'll push it right up to make sure it's just under the rim. And then I'm going to just tie a brief knot in it because I'm going to glue the ribbon to the fabric as well. So once you know you've got it in the place where you want it to be, at the back, I'm just going to ease that up slightly and put a bit of glue underneath and glue it there. And then at the front, I'm going to, well, we'll glue it I've forgotten where the back was now. I'm going to glue it 3/4 of the way around. So following the rim of your plant pot, do it that side. So we're gluing it in 3 places. We're not going to glue it at the front. Okay, and then we're just going to tie it in a nice bow. I'm going to tie it in a double knot just because I find it's easier to tie a bow then, because sometimes it can kind of start to unravel itself when you're tying your bow. Oh, there's my nice neat bow. Long ends, I can just trim them, so it's not going to be underneath your pot. We'll trim them at a nice angle. Now I always have bits of fabric and I always have bits of ribbon. This has probably been rescued from something I've been given. Now with the top, it's up to you. You can either fold your edges back out, but I think that's a bit untidy. So I'm going to tuck mine in and I'm just going to put, you might not need to put glue. If you've got any ends that you really want to secure, like this is a short end, I am going to glue that just because it's going to be a little unsightly. You can glue all of them in if you want, if you wish to. Again, there's another bit that's just a tiny bit short. Try not to burn my fingers because I'm terrible for that. In fact, I'm going to glue all the edges down now when I look at it. I was thinking once you put the plant in, it will hold it in place. You don't have to glue all the edges. But I think mine's just a little bit untidy. So I'm just going to pop the plant in it. Perfect. So that's an easy, simple way. Just a fabric and a ribbon and glue. And it's really quite attractive, that. I was already thinking this morning I might do everybody a little spring plant pot present in my handmade covered fabric. Now that's stuck to the glue because that wasn't quite ready. So that's the first one. So that's easy to do. That, you know, very simple, just a little bit of glue. Right, we'll move on to the sticky back plastic one. Now with this one, you will have to make a template out of paper. I find that's the quickest and simplest way, so you're not wasting too much of your sticky back plastic. So I've got here, this is baking paper, greaseproof paper, whatever you'd like to call it. That's not the pot I'm going to use. I'm going to use this pot that hasn't got a rim just to make my life a bit easier. So what you want to do is roll your paper around your pot, making like a cone shape, as if you were wrapping a present. Put a little bit of sellotape just there to hold it. Oh, because this is parchment, so the sellotape isn't sticking. Let's try that again. Roll it up. Making sure that it's sitting quite snugly on your. So it's sitting snugly and covering all of your pots. Then proving to be a little. I'm just going to glue, fasten that with the tape. No, I'm not. Seems like I'm not going to fasten it with tape today. So I will just have to, I'll tell you what, I'll use one of my little quilting clips to hold it in place. So, third time lucky, ladies and gentlemen. Got it fitting perfectly there. Try a little quilting clip to hold it in place. And then, because we want to overlap it over and inside the pot, we're going to cut it with an allowance of about an inch. So, oh, sorry, those are my dressmaking scissors. I need to use paper scissors. So I'm going to cut about an inch above the top of the pot in a straight line parallel to the top of my pot. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can keep the template if you've got several pots the same size. I'm going to go back and clip that back together as it's coming in. Sorry about this, and I'm not being very professional today because it's doing my head in now. I'm going to clip that there, and then roll that round again and clip that other bit separately. Now again, at the bottom, we want about an inch allowance. So I'm calling it a seam allowance, to be able to put it underneath, put it that way. So I'm gonna, there's the bottom of my pot, I'm allowing about an inch, and I'm gonna cut again all the way around. This is the simplest way I found of doing it, although it's proving to be not that simple, isn't it? Just because trying to draw around the pot, the pot's an awkward shape because it's like a cone. Right, so that's my template. Now, if you were doing it with a pot with a rim, you want to cut two templates, basically. You only want to go as high as there, although you could go up the top of the pot because that could be your seam allowance. So what we've got is like a sort of curved shape. Then we're going to transfer that onto sticky back plastic. Now, what I've got here is the ones I used. This is the one I used earlier. That's like a glittery effect. And it is actually a film. It's a thin film. The other thing I've got, which I think I might use if it's big enough, is this is fabric on a sticky back roll, and I think I'm going to use that one. You can't see very well the colour, but it's like a minty green. And lay your I very much don't like to waste stuff, so I'm trying to lay my template on it where I want, but you can't help but waste some because of the shape of it. I'll get my pencil. It doesn't have to be like mega exact, just because you can trim it afterwards. You just want the vague shape. So you're going to draw around your template roughly. My curve's not very curvy, not very straight, but I can cut it straighter. And then here we've got straight edge there. Can you see this? I'm trying to get everything in on the camera, so you might not see it all. And then I'm just going to cut that. Now, helpfully, these sticky back plastics and fabrics have a nice grid on the back, so it makes cutting a straight line really easy. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it out. Trying to get smooth my curves out. Right, so that's one side. So I get nice straight lines that I haven't drawn them straight, because you can cut straighter than you can draw, particularly when you're not drawing around solid shape. Get the curve in. Scissors are a little bit blunt now. However, according to the time. I think we might go a little bit over time this time because these both are quite time consuming. But stick with me. And then the last cut across the bottom. Right. Pop that to one side. I'm sure I'll be able to use up those bits for something else. So there we've got our cutout shape. So now it's just a case of sticking it onto the pot. Make sure your pot is clean and dry and grease free. You don't want any kind of bits where it won't stick if you can avoid them. Now you just start to peel the back off, whatever you're using, which proves difficult if you've got really long nails. The plastics are easier to start peeling than the fabrics. The fabrics have a bit of give in them, which is handy when it comes to trying to put it around the rim of your pot as well, because they do stretch a little bit, so you can get less creases. So what I've done is start to peel the back off. I'm trying to make it so you can see what I'm going to do. Take your pot, place it so you've got your seam allowances, and then lift the pot and smooth the fabric on. So what you're aiming to do is be able to wind it round, but that's going to come slightly off. I need to just adjust this so that my seam allowance always stays above and below the angle. It's the angle you've got to get right. So I need to have it a bit more angled like that. So there we go. So I've got my seam allowance above and below, and then you just peel and stick. Now the other thing you could do, I haven't because I've been a little bit strapped for time when I've been preparing these, is you can always decorate the pots as well with buttons, little flowers. You could make a fabric flower. I'm just going to have to ease that back because it does seem to have, the seam allowance has gone a little bit around. The nice thing about the sticky back plastic is, or fabric, is if you do get some creases in it, you can just peel it off and re-stick it. And just make sure it's stuck well. And you can also trim off any excess. I'm going to brush this slightly upwards because I am losing my seam allowance a little bit at the top. So I don't want to do that. And I don't want to get a lot of creases in it. Nearly there. Now, the last bit. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do on this last bit is, once I've overlapped it, there, I'm going to cut off the excess. So I've got a nice straight seam line. So there's my overlap, and I'm just going to cut straight up to the top here. Right, so you can see there I've got a nice seam. Then you just fold over your overlap over the top of your pot. This has the effect of covering the top bit of your pot as well, which makes it look nicer. Now on the bottom I'm going to actually, it stuck itself down, but I'm going to cut little wedges in it just because you need the pot to sit nice and flat. So just cut some put some cuts in it from the edge of the fabric to, these scissors are a bit, let me get another pair. They're just a little bit blunt at the top, so they're not cutting right to the top, neither of these. Anyway, you can see that what I want to do is just put some cuts in it so that it folds over flatter. Right, so that should do it. Okay, so then I'm going to fold that over and stick it down, pulling it tight as I go. so it's not got big wedges that are gonna unbalance your pot. Right, so hang on. I've got that's my pot. Just smoothing it out round, take out any creases. Oh, we'll pop our plant in it. We haven't got a saucer in the bottom of there, but we will have. And there. Now that was very easy as well, you've got to admit. Okay, so moving rapidly on because I'm aware of time passing. I'm going to show you the next one. Now, this one does take a little bit more time. So basically what we're creating is a flat bottomed fabric basket. This one I've done on the sewing machine. We're using 2 complementary pieces of fabric. This fabric with the sort of Art Deco pattern, if your fabric has a direction, the pattern has a direction, you need to make sure that they're both going upright. Now the fabric I've got here and on the blue one was a more random pattern. I've got stripes on this one, I've got a more random pattern on this one. So with this one, I didn't have to worry about where the pattern was going or pattern matching or anything because it's quite random, so it didn't really matter. And with the stripes, it's the same. Now the advantage of this is that you don't need to sew the bottom seam. You can just fold it up and it will look the same on both sides. I'm going to just tilt that a little bit because I want you to be able to see what my hands are doing. Okay, so the one I'm going to show you today, I've chosen this nice pink candy stripe and this pink that matches. Now, because these came out of a fat quarter bundle, there was plenty of, the fabrics were complementary. And what we're going to do is create 2 bags and put one inside the other. So to do this, we'll start with a striped one. What you want to do is fold it in half so that the right sides are on the inside. That's the inside pattern side. Just the same if you're sewing it, you would just sew it instead of, I've lost my little clips now. You would sew it instead of gluing it. So I'm just going to clip it at the top so I know that my top edge is even. You might need an iron as well in this. Not necessary, but it's helpful. And then I'm simply going to glue, just turn my glue back on, glue up these sides. Bear with me while I just put my iron back on. So I always keep an old iron. I've got an old iron that I keep, here it is, in my sewing room because it's really handy to have an iron when you're just doing odd bits. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue up these side seams, but first I'm going to turn over the tops. So I've got a nice neat edge at the top so that I won't have to worry about it afterwards. So you're going to turn over about ½ inch just to give you a nice neat edge. I'm going to pop the clips on. You heard my iron popping then. Where's the other clip gone? And I'm going to just press that. Now I've got a towel on my tabletop, so I'm not burning my tabletop. So I'm just going to press that ½ inch in between my clips. And I'm going to do the same on the other end. Now, not only will this give you a neat edge, it'll stop it fraying as well. Okay, so we've done that. Now my glue gun is alive. So I'm going to run a line of glue under. Now, the important thing when you're gluing fabric is like this and making a seam is not to have any bits that don't have glue on them. With these hems, it's not as important, but it's very important up the sides. So I'm going to just run that under that hem again. You could also use, if you haven't got glue, you could use that iron-on hemming stuff, Bonder Web, because that will give you a seam as well. So then we go back to our fold in half. making sure that our top edges are aligned because we don't want a step there. And now we're going to glue the seams. So I'm going to just fold back that top piece of fabric about 1/4 inch in. I'm going to put a thick line of glue, making sure there are no gaps in it because we don't want the seam to bust open. Right, and then you just smooth that over. You need to be quite quick with the glue because it could set before you get the fabric over. So we'll just do the other side. Now, I forgot to say about measuring your pot for your fabric. What I did was, I'll just smooth it over. What I did was I measured all the way around my pot and then added 1 inch for the seam allowance. You don't need to use the tape measure. I just used a piece of string and then left an extra inch for my seam allowance. Then I measured from here all the way around the bottom and up to the top, and I added 1 inch for the overlap and 1 inch for the seam allowance. So again, I just used a piece of string to measure it. So that will give you roughly the right measurements for your, it doesn't have to be exact. Your pot can be a little bit loose in it. Right, so now you can see we've created a little bag. And I'm going to turn that right side out. I'm having to think because I always have to think when I'm lining something. It's a peculiar way. If you're sewing it, you line it so that the right sides are together. So one either the lining has to be inside out. Very rarely get it right. Now we're just going to do the same as we did earlier. We're going to, with the lining fabric, I'm going to put my little seam allowance, my little hem there, and the same on the other end. Needless to say, as I forgot to say, you cut both pieces of fabric the same size. And then very quickly we will glue under the hem. Don't burn your fingers. Now this is the first time I've actually done this with glue. I've got a sewing machine, so I nearly always sew everything. And the bits of the fat quarters that are left, I am going to make spectacle cases with this afternoon. Never have something to put my glasses in, and I like a soft case. Now I've got a little bit, must have, when I've trimmed this, it's been a little bit, it's not quite square. So I'm just going to take my fabric scissors. I'll pop this clip on here to hold it and just trim these edges so that they're equal. Wouldn't really matter, but it just makes it a bit easier when you come into glue that you've got it, you've got them even when you're sewing as well, because you've got a line to follow. You don't want it to be catching one side and not the other. There. Okay, so very quickly again, I'm going to put a good run of glue from the very corner all the way up. Quite heavy on the glue is this process, but I don't want to miss any bits and have it come apart. You might need another glue stick, so I'll do the other end. Now, when I did this earlier, as I say, I forgot to I had one the wrong way out, so I ended up with a seam. So now you're just going to make sure that's fully glued. I think I might have missed a little bit just there, so let me do that. Squeeze a little bit in there. Not that it really matters on the lining, but you don't want it to split. Now, turn that one right side out. The glue's not quite set. I can still feel it hot on the fingers. And you're going to pop this one inside the other one. So they're both right side out, and I'm just going to sandwich them together. So push right into the corners. So your corners are together. Now this is another use for your little quilting clips or pins if you're using them. Just clip that at the corner so that both layers are held together. And same with this one. So I've got my right into the corners there. And at the top, they're slightly overlapping. So the outside is slightly overlapping the inside, which is good. So what you're going to do now is just run a line of glue along the top of your lining so that it catches all of the outside edge. And I found the easiest way to do this is to turn your bag so that, you know, you've got, and you want to have your seams more or less together. So I'm going to go along here with my glue. I do keep burning myself. You'd think I'd learn, but I never do. And then along this bit. There must be some sort of definition to, you know, stupidity about never learning from your mistakes. I'm sure there is somewhere. And that's my last bit. I'm just going to press that down. So now I've got a lovely lined bag. Now you could make bags for anything. They don't need to be for plant pot covers even. I mean, that would make a really nice sort of storage bag on your dressing table. Right, so the last bit is to create the boxed bottom in this. So to do that, we're actually going to make like a bottom of a parcel like that. And to do it, I'm going to put the pot in, and then I'm going to tuck all this excess fabric inside so that it's not going to get in the way. And then where your points come out, we're going to maybe need a little bit more fabric to be able to put. We're going to fold it over like we would if we were making a parcel like that, so in a V shape, and we're going to run the glue about halfway down the point and then at the end of the point as well, and then just fold it over and hold it till it's set. Right, I'll show you on this side from your angle if you like. So I'm going to run my glue about halfway down there and then on the point and fold it over. Ow! Without burning myself. So there you can see I've created the box bottom. Now if you're sewing this, you do that on the inside. If you can see in this one, there's the bottom. You do it on, you just run along here where we've just folded it. You would run a line of stitching, but do it with the bag inside out, so that creates a sort of square bottom like that. You can't really do that with the two pieces of fabric I found. The first one I did it on the inside, but the outside fabric wasn't glued. Anyway, so that's us. Then we just fold the top down. Do you know what? I've done it again. My seam's on the outside. It doesn't really matter. It's just neater if your seam is on the inside of your bag. And again, so that's us folded that maybe a little bit further down so we can see our plants. I'm going to pop that in there. Now, as well as being really decorative in your house, I think that makes a beautiful gift. So as I say, oops, just bear with me while I turn the camera back up. I am going to, my relatives, if they're watching this, they're going to know, aren't they? I'm going to make these for my relatives. So you could decorate it with a bow or something, anything you like really. So that is your little box bottomed fabric bag cover. that is your very simple plastic, sticky back plastic or fabric covered pot. Again, I'm going to put something nice on here, maybe with buttons and lace. And the first one I showed you, which is simply tied with a bow. The simplest of the three. Now that looks quite nice. That looks like it's been wrapped and tied like a parcel. So I'm going to make more of these and give them to my friends. So I hope that you've got some really good ideas here. We don't seem to have many watchers today, but to Irene and Sally who did watch, thank you for watching. If you are watching back later on, just comment hashtag replay and let me know what you think. If you make anything, would really love to see them. You can post the pictures to the feed on the Virtual Village Hall page. I can see we have 23 watchers, but they're not really joining in today. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm Kate, for What Kate Made, saying goodbye, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks.